Hey, Chamber members, Alan Waters here, your Director of Marketing and Communications at the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce and your Words of Wisdom podcast. Today I'm joined by
Heather Potter with Paint and Fun Ceramics.
Awesome. Welcome, Heather. So the first time, I didn't realize it's been this long because we were in my office when we did this, but the first time the whole thing revolved around what does success mean to you? And this time I want to ask the question, what does failure mean to you?
So I don't know. So what does failure mean to me? I would say that it's if I on my day to day, if I can't get what I need accomplished, or pass on things that I know to customers correctly and in a way that they're going to love their piece when they come back in, it's all about when they come back and pick up their piece and they have this huge smile on their face and just, oh my gosh, I did that. So, if they come back and they have a piece or a creation or whether it's clay or something on the wheel or something like that, and they're just, what is this? Mm-hmm. I didn't do it. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. So I would have to say that's in my day-to-day at work. That's what failure is to me, that I didn't do and educate the customer enough that, they just weren't happy with what they did.
There's a lot of times that goes back to that customer support, and I think that's missing in a lot of places. So I'd love to break into that some more because I think back on all the posts that you see that it's, oh, this isn't that so-and-so, this isn't that so-and-so. And I think there's a part of it that is, hey, the nostalgia. I mean, I saw the other day that Cracker Barrel is going to be changing their entire interior to a more modern approach. And I was like, well, that makes me sad. So I think there's part of that. But I also do think we've got moments where people forget that the customer support is your biggest sales factor. Because especially in so many places where you can buy a lot of the stuff online, I'm not saying you can paint stuff online.
Right.
But you still, when there are other options to go to, those are some of the pieces that really make people come to you. What is some of that that's been instilled in you along the way? Where did you start looking at that more often? Because, I can think back to, and I know I've told this story, I think, a million times on the podcast. I can think back to when I was working in a box office and I had someone call because we were in Vermont. This particular theater had a Vermonters discount that if you had a home, if you lived primarily in Vermont, you got a discount on your tickets. Someone called and got incredibly upset with me because they were like, I have a third home in Vermont. Why can't I qualify? And I was like, I'm sorry, it's for primary residents. Then I had someone else that called and it was entirely their fault, but I fixed the issue. And it was just the talking to them. They were like, thank you so much. And when they came to the theater that night, they brought me a bottle of wine to thank me for fixing the stuff.
Right.
Those pieces have kind of stuck with me ever since, of just how you treat people goes a long way. Do you have any moments like that were like, this is where it really dawned on you?
Yeah. So I'm a firm believer that everyone, their first job should be in food service. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. So I started a really long time ago doing birthday parties next door over here at the bowling alley. And then waiting tables at Pizza Hut when it was a thing over on Roanoke Street. And just to, everybody knows you don't mess with people's food. It needs to come out the way it is and the way they want it, not how you think it should look. Mm-hmm. So it's a humbling experience. So when, I had a group of customers at Pizza Hut who were regulars. They were there every weekend. You knew what time they were going to be there. I knew what they already wanted on their tables, so on and so forth. So another waitress happened to be there that weekend and screwed everything up. And the guys were like, we're never coming back. And I'm like, don't, some of my best tipping customers, please don't run them away,
Right, yeah.
Same way with the bowling alley, a lot of people are regulars and they've been there and they have this certain level. So when you're not giving it, you really have to bend to the needs and the wants of, whoever you're serving, whether it be on the phone in a call center and you're troubleshooting someone's satellite dish, did that for years, or, at work now, or even if, out in public. I'm a big thing. If I see this kid struggling, hey friend, it's okay. Here, let me help you get that, or let me do this for you, or hey mom, do you need some help? So it's just something that's always just stayed with me.
That extra mile doesn't actually take you that much more to do.
Right.
But the memory, the feeling that people get, and we've talked about it with Christina, we've talked about it with Casey in the marketing side and the branding side, but within that, the company culture side, if you've got that feeling for people of they care, they
Right.
have the emotional, like, people latch on to that. I when we talked to Grand, that's something he mentioned with people can buy a mattress online now, but they don't get that aspect of when I walk in of, hey, oh, well, what do you actually
That's
need?
the one-on-one.
What are your
Right.
pieces? The people that'll openly say, actually, I don't think this is best for you because they know, yes, this might get more commission, but they're going to be unhappy and they're not going to come back. Like,
Right.
those things get lost a lot, I think. And with what you're doing, when you're working with families and kids, I think it is even more so, because when someone comes in and they have a bad experience, the mindset isn't just like, I've had a bad experience. It's, I'm thinking about my kids and what they do
Right.
as well. So as you're going through kind of that, how do your interactions change when you're working with the children in an activity versus when you're working with adults?
So that can get kind of drastic some days. I can have, moms with babies like last week come in. I'm talking, newborns and screaming, very upset. And then I have, a set of college kids in the back working on their adult gardening pieces. So I have to
Screaming,
go
very upset.
right, right. So I have to go from like, oh my gosh, hey, to like, I can sit and talk like we are at the back of the studio, and then somewhere in the middle that's going to cross. So it's definitely a lot of roles, it's a lot of faces. It's a lot of mindset changes, if that makes sense, because I can't talk to, the kids like I can the adults.
Right.
So most of my adults and some of my kids, we're on a first name basis, and they're like, "Oh, Heather's here. It's going to be a great day," or "Oh, hey, Crystal's here. It's going to be a great day," stuff like that.
Within that, though, because when you're going through some of the education pieces with them of like, hey, this is there, how does that approach work too? Because I'm not saying that you have to be more gentle with kids. Honestly, I think sometimes you can be more blunt with a kid than you
Right.
can with an adult. But how do you go through that as well, of that switch? Is it, hey, I need to think about this in a specific terms of steps? Is it, because I don't know.
There's a lot of room reading.
Okay.
I've always been a people watcher, so like I was that person at 3 a.m. at Walmart that would just sit there on that bench and just survey the people.
God. Hope you never saw me.
Right? So it's a lot of room reading. Some people will come in and they're just mad off the bat because something happened before they got there. So it's okay, well let's kill this table with kindness, or let's what can I do to take their focus off of whatever upset them before they came in. Whether it be, I don't know, they just spent $20 on lunch and the kids didn't eat it and it ended up in the trash, or brother and sister were arguing and mom's stressed. Have a lot of dads who bring things in and they're just overwhelmed,
Right.
and they're like, I don't do this on the daily basis, so I don't know what I'm doing. So it's like, okay, mom mode, hey, come here guys, let's go do this, or let me write down your colors, let me help you pick this off the shelf. Oh, you're done, here's some coloring sheets. Versus, I've got adults who come in all the time. Well, I don't know how to art. I don't know how to make this look like this sample that's on your shelf. Don't worry, friend. I got a technique for that. All these lines here, we do that first. We don't do that last. It's sloppy. It's fun. And like our silk screens, a lot of adults, I'm all like, okay, we're going to finger paint now. And they're like, you want me to get dirty? Yes, I do. Like I have a sink. It'll be fine. So it's really just, reading the room and kind of getting the vibe and feel for how the customers are when they come in. So
You mentioned the mom mode, and that kind of is going to take me on a tangent for a second. For most of the people that are listening know, I'm a new dad. As the time recording, she's 5 months this week. So how has that shifted, and how does that impact how you are working on a daily basis on the balancing? Because I know people talk about work-life balance a lot, and sometimes I think it's there, sometimes I don't. But how does that change your mindset when you're dealing with other people? Because I feel like before, it was easy to go, man, that kid's crying. And now I'm like,
Right.
oh, okay.
Boy, that kid's
yeah,
crying.
that's kid crying. And like, I understand 100%. You don't know what's going on either. So like, how have some of those shifted, and how does that impact really, as you said, you're reading the room, you're doing some of that. But how does that impact just your general interactions with people as you've got that um, emotional knowledge of it's not always what's on the surface, those pieces.
I think there's a lot of empathy involved. I have two very drastically different children. One is, I don't care, whatever, just goes with the flow. And the other one is so high strung and has so much anxiety about literally getting out of the bed in the morning that I see, both sides at home. I'm a pretty overly emotional person myself. So it's really just, the empathy. If you see someone, we're all doing this for the first time. Nobody's been doing this before. Nobody's more experienced than anyone else. You may have an extra kid or 7, but that doesn't mean that you're still not out here doing this for the first time. So, my whole thing is, and especially with parents, and moms in particular, they come in and they're like, oh, I have to clean up. No, you don't. Please do not clean up. I'm going to fuss at you if you clean up. Don't do that.
Right.
They struggle with that. But at the end, a lot of the moms are like, wow, thanks. I needed that today.
Yeah.
Thanks for seeing that, my kid was over here trying to climb a shelf, and while I'm trying so hard to make this birthday plate perfect, or, this is for their grandparents, thanks for helping me do their hands. A lot of that too is moms will come in and they're like, we want to do the hand and the footprints. So I'm like, okay, well, all I need is the hand or the foot. I'll take care of that. And then you just, we'll get you squared away and then we'll do the rest. So they're literally in and out in 10 minutes or less.
Right.
So, I think that helps a lot. Just taking what I know. I've always been a crafty person, so I was already doing most of this stuff at home when my kids were little, and with friends and family members and stuff like that. So it's not, it's not an added bonus, I guess, but it's not really a skill. It's just, just being just one mom to another mom, or a mom to a dad, parent to parent, it's just one less thing they have to worry about today.
And then on the opposite side, when you're going home, how do you make that switch happen? Because sometimes I feel like I struggle there, where I'm home, this is family time, and I still get stuck in work mode. This is more of a personal piece,
No.
like,
I struggled with that a lot, because I want it to be above and beyond. When I took the position with Terry, I initially started out more as like an assistant. So in my mind, I went straight to like the movies, to where, you had all these notebooks, and you had all these things, and like the coffees, and you were running around. It was crazy.
Right.
That's kind of how in my mind it was. So I wanted to make sure that, I proved myself. So if, like, I have set, I'm a very organized person. So I have, like, lists and labels and calendars and all the things, and I have dates that I need to do things by. So if I don't have them done when I need them done, even though it's months in advance, I feel like I let Terry down in a way.
Right, yeah.
So I would take the work home with me. I would bring the computer home and sit there for another 8 hours doing all the things. And then one day, Terry was like, "What are you doing?" She was like, "I'm going to take your computer." So I don't do it so much anymore. But with that being said, my kids are at work a lot with me. Like, I've got one there painting now while I'm doing this.
Right.
So they love the art. They like doing the things, whether it's learning or just helping around the studio. So we've found a nice balance, but I have stopped taking stuff home. So
I think that's always a struggle, and it's like you said, it's your first time, whether it's your first child or your 8th child, that is still your first time with that situation. I think sometimes we all need to give ourselves a little bit of grace. Like I have really struggled this past month of with everything here going on, everything at home going on, everything Rachel and her company going on. I always have felt like, okay, I got to keep going. I got to keep doing. And it wasn't until she sat me down one night and was like, you don't have to do all of the stuff. Some of it is okay that it doesn't get done. Sometimes it's okay if you sit down and you hold baby and I do it. And it was a mind switch for me because like in my brain I was like, it's so hard being a new mom. And especially she's breastfeeding. She's at home with her all the time. We're not in daycare. We have a lovely little Velcro baby with our Velcro mom.
Nothing wrong with
and nothing wrong with it. But I also am aware of the fact that like it is very difficult when that's the case. Because there's sometimes I want to help and it's struggle. Like in the middle of the night, waking up, I'm like, I really want to help with the baby. But the baby does not want me.
Right.
It wants to eat, and there's nothing I can do about that with breastfeeding.
No.
certain point where you're like, well, all right, it just is what it is. And I think we all have to like give ourselves the grace that everything is a season. Like issues that are now won't be forever. So.
And grace is hard sometimes.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of us, grew up or had that. It was always, do.
Right.
And to sit back and be like, it's okay. Nothing's going to explode today if I don't do this. Like, take 5 minutes. And that's been the hard part for me, to just step away and be like, it'll be okay if I'm not at work 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
Like the studio will still be there.
Right. Yeah, I think the importance of it gets in our heads sometimes because it's very important to us. But that doesn't mean that it's life or death or anything like that. And like you said, it will still be there. It is just finding the new pieces. And that's tough. I mean, if anybody's got the answer to it, cool, let me know.
Right, same.
But it's at the same time, I also see, both parenting and business, like videos online where someone's like, I have the secret. And I'm always like,
what is it?
Right.
Yes.
But at the same time, I'm like, no, you don't. Like, that might have worked for your child.
Right.
That doesn't mean it's going to work for my child.
Exactly.
I saw something the other day that was like, there should be no screens for the kids before they are 3 years old. And I was like, good luck.
Right.
Okay, great. I appreciate that you can do that, but I can't. Miss Rachel is on every time I need her to, like, really calm down. I've heard of the wheels on the bus so many times now, and I still don't know all the words. But
yeah, it's okay. Sheriff Callie was ours. Anything Disney, like as long as that was on, just for background noise, everybody was happy. But the minute that it goes away, it's chaos.
I think there was at least a 3-hour portion on our drive back from Georgia that Baby Beluga was on repeat. And by the time I got home, I was like, if I hear that song one more time, I'm going to go insane.
Good times.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll be diving into this a little bit more. Explore your creativity with paint your own pottery, wheels, clay, and more at Paint and Fun Ceramics, where you're the master designer. Your creative vision becomes reality with the mediums they provide, whether you're a painter, a sculptor, or something else entirely. Take advantage of their online bookings, where you can sign up, show up, and get right to work creating your masterpiece, whether it be a team-building exercise, fun with the family, or a unique date night. Paint and Fun Ceramics has you covered. With over 1,000 different pottery pieces, more than 200 glaze colors to bring your masterpieces to life, they have options that are even food safe. Or if you're in a rush, have them make and take painting options as well. For more information, go to paintandfunceramics.com. That's paintandfunceramics.com. Back to the episode. All right. We are back. So before we dive back in, I want to thank Grand Home Furnishings for providing the chairs, the carpet, the things in this room that make it a little bit more homely, but also make the sound better. So thank you, Grand, for providing that. Within this, and thinking about your events and how much that happens, How do you go about the strategy when you're balancing between, hey, we want the events for adults, we want the events for kids, we're balancing around calendars?
It's funny that you brought that up because we were just working on the calendar. Again, like I said, I'm months in advance at this point. But we were looking at, October through December, and I'm trying to get it all on the website. So over the summer, we tried a kids paint party. It's just a canvas. It's super fun, nothing complicated. So it worked out pretty well. So I sprinkled it into the fall. I already do kids camps when Montgomery County is out. Any major holidays, there's a kids camp, unless we're closed, of course. But so I was looking at those. You'll find that a lot of our projects come out of summer camps. So like earlier last week, the new lantern that's on the calendar now for September created in kids camp.
Okay.
Super cool. So it's a little lantern with a little swinging ghost. I'm excited to get it painted, to put it out. That ended up being a kids, and then I, just adjusted for the season.
Right. Yeah.
Adults like things, during the week, and some are more picky about what days that those classes happen than others. But we have a regular customer base who will come to anything. There are some things that I've noticed people aren't a fan of. I thought technique workshops would be awesome, so you could learn different things in a controlled environment to where you have an instructor and everyone is focused, versus total chaos in the middle of a Saturday when there's 50 people in the studio doing 50 different things, and it's just crazy. Those weren't a big hit, which was kind of odd to me, but that's okay. We all do art in our own ways. There's no right or wrong. So it's a lot of talking to other studios as well to see what works in their neck of the woods. There are some things like ocean-related things that aren't going to work so great here as it would in Port St. Lucie down in Florida,
Yeah.
So we keep those in mind. What's cool about being a paint your own pottery studio is that we have the CCSA, which is a group for all of us to go to, and they have tips and tricks, and they print out guides and any new projects. Our suppliers are really good about that too, so I do look through those a lot. Usually if it's spring, they're publishing summer fall stuff, so we can stay ahead. Sometimes it doesn't always work like that, and that's okay, but something cool might happen today that should have happened a month ago.
Right, yeah.
So.
But within that, also, when looking at the ages and those, is it fully more about the techniques and what you're working with, or does it come down to more the subject? Have you found the lanterns are more popular with older or
right? I think it's a good mix, really. What I have found for this area is how long is that class going to be?
Okay.
8-hour classes broken down into like a 2-3 week class are not as popular as an hour and a half to 2 hour long class. Now there are some times that I'll, like our stained glass, that I'll put on there that it's a 2 hour class, but we might be there for 4. But I didn't know that because I didn't know how that person was going to interpret what I was teaching and then put it, into their project. So, and that's fine. I don't mind, we're all learning.
Yeah.
But it's, like I said, it's not so much as the age or what group or whatever. It's a time constraint. So we have found that the 2.5 hours or less is good for this area. Between college students and schedules and, the families who all their kids play a different sport and they have to be in 8 places at once.
Right, yeah.
And then football's getting ready to start back up. So already looking at tech schedule to see what's going on, who's going to be in town, who's not going to be in town, stuff like that.
What Thursday night game is going to happen.
Right, what Thursdays, nights we can't do things. Yep. So we take all of that into consideration, especially with our outside vendors as well, because we do work with other local businesses in the area, and will that get them business? Is that going to work for both of us? Yeah. If we do something out at this winery, or if we go to this brewery or, whatever, how can it work for everybody? So,
And I mean, even mentioning the timepiece, like, I can see how much that impacts. Because when you said 8-hour course, my thought was like,
Right.
if I'm in this studio for 8 hours, I might
Right.
go insane. Not against you, anybody else. If I'm anywhere for 8 hours, aside from work, I have to leave here occasionally or
Right.
I'll go insane. But yeah. And so even with the outside vendors and the other pieces, because Terry and I have talked on our latest episode about the team building aspect and some of that. When you get to some of these activities, is it more going through that association, or is it more just the practice and fail of finding what works best with the teams? Or how is that process kind of coming along?
In my experience, we've, especially with team building, I try to push that they do their surveys and stuff anonymously. So there's no pressure of like, oh no, I got Mike's mug or I got Sarah's mug, and like, I can't live up to her expectations.
Oh, okay.
Or his expectations or whatever it may be. So while we have the option to put your name on there and you know who it is, it's a little bit more fun. And I find that everybody's more relaxed when we just go in not knowing who is who.
Right.
And that's with like our mug switch and stuff like that. But like with canvases, if we're doing, a painting and everybody's doing the same thing, I find people are a little bit more stressed out. And that's fine. But they're all doing the same thing. So it is, it's more of a maybe what they're used to. Hey, we're going to do this step by step, and someone's going to tell me how to do this versus you have free range based off of these 6 questions. So
I feel like the step by step, I think about my own personal experience, like doing a Bob Ross paint night. I can't envision how it ends. So, I mean, the one time I've done, it was a lot of fun at the end. But like going through, I was like, this looks terrible. This looks terrible. And everybody's like, trust the process. And I'm like,
and you get a lot of that.
I don't understand the process. And so that's the tough part, I think. I don't know if I'm your ideal client or if I'm exactly your ideal client because you like working with people in that way.
Right.
But that is something when you're thinking about your team building and you're thinking about those outside events, how do you go about making sure that what it is something that is digestible for people of all kinds? Is it, like you said, the anonymous aspect, or is it just a matter of, hey, we aren't going to be, we're not doing a full Bob Ross painting tonight. It's something more specific.
Right. I think that just goes back to reading the room.
Okay.
Anytime we do this, for example, the leadership program for Arts Day was there and we did the mug swap. And everybody comes in and, everybody's dressed for business that day.
Right.
And they were like, we're getting dirty. And I was like, guys, it's not what you think. And with glaze, it looks like you're painting with chalk. So it's not going to look, like this. It's not going to have these big vibrant colors like acrylic would.
Right.
So you're painting with the pink, but it's going on your piece gray. And then you're like, well, I put gray here. And then the overthinkers start to really overthink. And it's not going to be what it is. I can tell you that the leadership has not seen their projects, but they all look phenomenal. And whoever was overthinking that day is just going to be like, oh my gosh, they were right.
Are they getting them at like final retreat or something?
At final retreat.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so they've got a little bit longer to wait to see those. But again, it was, everybody filled it out ahead of time. And so everybody was given the same things and colors and just across the board. And then they just kind of put it together. Like I said, a lot of the colors don't look anything like the color it's going to come out to be.
Right.
So it's that's kind of like the nice part of when people come back to pick things up too, because if you come in and do stoneware, you're painting with, I don't know, oranges, blacks, grays, greens, sometimes a pink or a purple. None of those colors are going to look, it's not going to look anything like that when you get it back. So it is, you're putting a lot of faith in us, but we're not going to steer you wrong.
Right.
We're making sure you're putting it on there right and doing this right. And, we're right there with you. So it's not like,
Yeah. You're on your own completely.
You're on your own. Yeah.
What is your favorite piece to paint or do or work with?
That's a hard question.
That's what I'm here for.
You're so good at those. Probably stoneware.
Okay.
If I had to pick something off the shelf, it would be stoneware. Absolutely. Just because there's so many things that can happen. For example, this morning, the kiln was unloaded and we used the same recipe on a mug that's on the shelf and a mug that was in the kiln. I painted one, Terry painted the other. Totally different, polar opposite, same technique, everything, and they look nothing alike. So it's one of those things, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, clay hand building is also my favorite. While I don't mind teaching, I also like being uninterrupted to where I can just sit and put it together and make sense to what I need it to be, so I can show you or someone else who comes in that same thing. Clay is very versatile. You can make it do pretty much whatever you want it to do. You know, just be gentle.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, you know, I've seen people come in and they'll be like, I want to do this walk-in clay option. I'll get it all prepped. They put their headphones on and they just zone out and it comes out and it's this awesome piece.
Yeah.
So.
Well, aside from events and stuff, which people can find on the website and make sure they're looking for those, what is your perfect referral for today? You know, what is the company that should be working with y'all? Where is the next location you'd like to be working with? Something that if any of our members are listening and they have a contact or know somebody, they can, you know, connect them with you.
You know, I get asked that question every week.
It never gets easier.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't. You know, we're going into holiday season. Anyone who is looking for, who has sports teams, who needs fundraising, wants to do any type of gift exchanges. So, corporations, companies out there, local and the bigger guys around here, if you need something for a company party, you know, give me a call.
Yeah.
Fundraising, we do ornaments every year. Super fun. You get a certain selection. We come to you. You can paint them there, or, you know, if it's a school or church or whatever, and then we take it back and do all the things. Handprint ornaments are my favorite. That is literally the easiest thing. All we need is your approved picture of what ornament we're making. I just need your child in about 5 minutes. And again, we come out to you, to your location, and then, you know, just paint their hands, put it on the ornament, and then we take it back to the studio. And within 2 weeks, you've got, you know, these awesome reindeer or Santas or elves or whatever that we may have available, you know, whatever the group wants to go with. So
that could be fun. Like the home builders where they've got their annual dinner and they've got Santa that comes out. They invite all the kids to the annual dinner. That might be a fun piece for them to like incorporate.
That's true. Yeah.
So if you're listening, home builders, or if Heather reaches out to you before this episode comes out, hope that works out. Yeah. Well, let us know where people can find Paint and Fun Ceramics on the web. It makes me feel a million years old to say it that way. But social media, in person, all those fun things.
In person, we are located inside of the Uptown Christiansburg Mall, just outside of Dick's Sporting Goods. So if you come in through Dick's itself, we're about 3 stores down on the right. As far as socials, we are active on Facebook and Instagram, working on TikTok, but showing my age, I haven't figured that one out yet. So getting
TikTok's tough.
It is. It really is. It's above my pay grade. And then we are also on our website at paintandfunceramics.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here today. Thank you for talking with me about all these fun things. Thank you, listeners, for listening along. Please make sure you like, follow, subscribe, all the things so you never miss an episode or any of the other content that we put out here at the Chamber. Thank you so much. And in the meantime, make sure you go out, invest, connect, engage, and prosper.